Hi there, welcome to the Interaxis YouTube channel and Interaxis.io. I'm going to move forward and keep talking about fund management. And again, I want to make this perfectly clear. I am not giving any investment advice. I'm not telling you you need to use any of the companies I'm talking about. I'm just trying to educate and tell you a little bit about fund management and what it's going to look like in the decentralized world. So if you remember, if you go back to what we talked about fund management or investment management in the traditional sense, one of the items you could use was what's called a money manager, right? So I can give my money, so the money manager, instead of investing in some sort of mutual fund where everyone's pooling their money together, with a money manager, they might manage something called a separately managed account, right? Where I put my money in here, this money manager comes in and has what's called discretionary ability, and they trade my account, and hopefully the account grows in value, right? That's the goal of hiring a money manager, and they make some percentage from 0.5% to 1.5%, depending on what they're managing and how complex it is and what their track record is and everything else. So that's essentially what a money manager does. What we're seeing in the decentralized world is something similar, and I'm sure there are quite a lot of these. I've actually tested a few out, and I really like them, and I like what they're trying to do. Again, I'm not saying you have to go use them. I'm not necessarily promoting them. I'm sure there are a whole lot of them that are really good, but a couple that I've talked to that I want to talk about what they're doing and how they're doing it and why it's important. One of them is called Lake Finance, and they're out of Canada. And the other one I've talked to is called Ryze Crypto, and they're actually out of Georgia, right? So what Lake Finance has done, and they have a beautiful interface and everything, and I know they're moving forward with some other products, but so far what they've done is I connect, in their case, my Binance account. So I put money into my Binance account. I put a certain amount of Bitcoin in there, right? And what they do is they go in kind of as a money manager, and they make trades. And theirs is somewhat AI-based, algorithm-based. So they're looking at what cryptocurrencies should be bought and sold at any particular time, and they rebalance as needed based on charts, based on AI, and everything else they're doing that is proprietary to them, and they're obviously very good at it. So they go into my account and they make these trades. And the cool thing is I get to identify how much Bitcoin I want them to trade to start with. So if I started out with 0.1 Bitcoin or a certain number of dollars or whatever, that's what they trade. And as long as I can have 5 Bitcoin in there for all they care, but they're going to trade what I ask them to trade, and they're going to keep up with it. They have great reporting tools. It shows a graph of how I'm performing, what the best performing coins are, what the worst, what trades they've made, and everything. So they're essentially acting like a money manager. Right now they're not getting any fees because they're kind of in beta, but they're looking at what their options are as to how they can launch and be this money manager in the crypto space. Currently they're doing it on centralized exchanges. My guess is at some point we'll be able to do this on decentralized exchanges, right, where they can go in and into my wallet and just manage my account, and I'll give them access to certain funds within there that they can manage. And eventually they'll be getting a fee for it. It's really cool. Ryze Crypto does the same thing, except with them it's their difference currently is they're in the Coinbase Pro account, and they are really only trading in and out of Bitcoin. And so what they're doing is based on, again, their AI, their charts, their graphs, their whatever system they're using to determine, is they're just buying and selling Bitcoin at certain times. As Bitcoin, as we know, it fluctuates wildly. So their goal is to try to sell it here and buy it back here, right? With the idea that if in this time Bitcoin is up 10%, their goal for me is to be up, say, 15% instead of 10. And the way they can do it is when Bitcoin gets up here, they sell it, and then they can buy more Bitcoin here and ride it up and down. And they've actually beaten Bitcoin. So they're doing a good job. They're another one that they're kind of in their alpha or beta program. They have a wait list, I know, but it's a really cool system as well. And again, I get the API and the secret API and everything and give it to them so they can trade what's in my Coinbase Pro account. This is going to be really popular because what you're going to have, again, is these money managers or fund managers or whatever that can create these systems and be able to trade, and it's relatively inexpensive for them to be able to do. They're going to have to, go out and acquire clients, but it's a relatively inexpensive process to actually just do this trading. And they'll probably be able to do it based on different custodians or different trading platforms and such. The other thing we'll have to talk about in here is what's called our benchmark. What are we benchmarking against? And a benchmark in the financial world is, how are we going to compare the returns I get in my account versus the returns anyone else gets, or the returns the market gets, right? So a benchmark a lot of times in very aggressive fund management, for instance, is the S&P 500. So we look at the index, the Standard & Poor's 500 index, 500 companies, and we say, how much did that grow this year? What's the percentage growth of the S&P, and what did my account do, right? So in this case, let's say the S&P is up 10% for a year. If I'm in really aggressive growth portfolio, right, if I'm willing to take all that risk, I would hope my account would be up somewhere near that 10%. I want to measure against a benchmark. Now, if I'm older, if I'm close to or at retirement, my risk profile might be lower, right? I'm not willing to take all that risk. So I have to use a different benchmark. So we might look at some other index as a benchmark. We might look at what's called a 60-40, which a 60-40 is 60% equity, 40% fixed income. Okay, so a 60-40 benchmark might only, in that same year, might only be 6% or 7% or so. So what I want to do is look at my performance, the performance of my account, and I want it to be close to this 6%. So any like 5 to 7% is pretty good, right? Because if that's the benchmark, if that's no emotion, this is just what happened, and my money manager is obviously, has some emotion, has some human element, has some, IT element and such, is trying to get around that benchmark, and they get close to it, that's pretty good. In the world of crypto, it's very different, right? Because we have to choose a different benchmark. So the benchmark has been recently the price of Bitcoin. Because what I want to look at is, all right, if I'm going to use Ryze or I'm going to use Lake Finance, I might want to go, would I have been better off just holding on to Bitcoin? The same way with the benchmark. Would I have been better off just holding on to the S&P 500 index fund rather than paying 1% to a money manager? And if they don't beat that benchmark, then I would have been better off just holding on to that index fund, right? So in the case of money management, fund management in the crypto world right now, we're looking at, well, what has the price of Bitcoin done? Bitcoin is obviously the biggest player here. So we go, okay, how am I compared to that? Would I have been better off just holding on to my Bitcoin, not worrying about paying anyone to do it, not worrying about the fluctuations, the volatility, and just say, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin and hold it for the long term, right? And again, if Bitcoin is up 10%, I know Bitcoin is up like 300% this year, but if Bitcoin is up 10% over some time frame, and Ryze or Lake is able to get me 15% over that same time frame, well, that's much better. I'd rather do that. So even if I am a buy and hold Bitcoin guy, and I'm like, look, this is where I'm putting my money, I still might want them to manage it, because if they can beat Bitcoin by 5% and I'm paying them, say, 1%, I'm ahead 4, right? And I'm always going to be ahead 4. So if Bitcoin goes up 100, I'm going to go up, quite a bit more than that. So that's what I'm seeing with these money managers. Again, I apologize if I missed anyone. These are two that I know of that I've actually tried. Again, I'm not endorsing them. I just wanted to talk about how money management is going to be different in this decentralized world, because eventually people like this are going to be able to trade any digital asset, essentially, right? Anything that could be traded on any sort of digital exchange, whether it's a security token on a 0x type exchange or anything like that. And they're going to be able to do it relatively inexpensively, very efficiently, and show some great reporting, a lot of transparency. Oh, and by the way, a whole lot of liquidity, right? Because if any point, Bitcoin is highly liquid. If any point I say, I need my money back, I just take it out. I say, listen, I'm done with you for a little while. I need to take my money out and go use it for something else. It's highly liquid, which is not something you always get in a lot of these money management platforms. So that's money managers within the fund management within the digital or crypto space. It's a really exciting time. I'm really excited. I've been in touch with these people about what they're doing, and there are some others. Again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us at interaxis.io and on Twitter at interaxis8, the number 8. Let us know if you like these videos, and let us know if there are any others you'd like to see.